Yeah.
Play the food.
Well, that go around, it was about 3 weeks before I could get out of bed on my own. It was tough.
I bet.
So, yeah.
This is the safe place to sit.
Oh, that's right. Huh.
You will.
Which is like, hey. They're ridiculous. That's why we quit playing. Like quarter to 9. Actually, told me about one. I guess I could have read it. I'm a little slow. So.
I don't have it, so I can check it off. Make sure you have it.
Call to order the regular council meeting for the town of Evansville. Can I have roll call, please?
Mayor Chad Edwards.
Here.
Councilmember Candace Michelle.
Here.
Councilmember Daisha Edwards.
Here.
Councilmember Greg Lustig.
Here.
County Attorney Scott Murray.
Here.
Town Treasurer Lexi Erickson.
Here.
Chief of Police Mike Thompson.
Here.
Let's see, Fire Chief Leon Lawson asked to be excused tonight. Assistant Fire Chief Mark Cornett.
Here.
Public Works Director Robert Llewellyn.
Here.
Town Clerk Janelle Underwood, the West Citizen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started this evening, I'd like to just let everybody know, especially those streaming from home, we may see some review today. We've tried to make some changes in our efforts to improve the quality of our streaming, the council meetings. So hopefully, knock on wood, we will go today without freezing up. So, with that, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 1, the consent agenda. Approval of the minutes for the regular meeting, June 26, 2023. Approval of business licenses, American Pride Car Wash and Dog Wash, Demo and Dirt, Dr. Conics Concentrates, MI Construction, and Wolf Creek Contract. Approval of the catering permit for Hooches, and approval of the bills. Do I have a motion to approve the consent?
I so move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 2, Chief Thompson, police officer.
Good evening. I'm losing my voice today, so bear with me. So we have a new officer swearing tonight, and it's been a couple of years since everybody got to hear my swearing speech. Lucky you. Some of you are probably new to this speech in the audience. Some of you are not. Police officers are an ever-present force in our lives. They're the ones that maintain order in our society by providing protection, preventing crime, and enforcing the law. The form police officers take today goes back to hundreds of years ago, back as far as 3000 BC. So when you think about how far we've evolved as police officers, that's quite a long time. The word police comes from an ancient word from the Greek polis, which means city. And before that, in Egypt, the pharaohs appointed officials to oversee and enforce the justice within the Egyptian culture back in the day. In America, it dates back to Boston, 1631. They established night watchmen, bringing law enforcement to our shores for the first time in America. Tonight, we're swearing in a new officer to serve our community. The first police badges were a coat of arms worn by the knights, which were identical or identified his allegiance to justice, and that goes back to our European heritage. Badges today are worn over our hearts, symbolize the pledge taken by the individuals to serve with pride, integrity, and as a symbol of authority granted after taking your oath, which we're doing here tonight for our new officer, Zoe Coleman. After America became a country, badges were adopted by larger departments. Officers out west began using metal from tin cans or silver coins, which were stamped to make the badges worn. So when you look at our badge here in Evansville, the silver star that is in the middle represents that history from westerly expansion as we had the marshals and stuff back in the day. Evansville played a pretty pivotal role in American history with the westerly expansion, with our Reshaw Bridge, and we also had Fort Casper and stuff here. So that silver star represents a lot of that history. This badge that we place on our chest, it represents the past and the role played with our great country. We'll talk about that. But each point, so when you look at our badge, we have 7 points on here, and each point represents the 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit: virtue, divinity, fortitude, prudence, honor, glory, and praising God. The 7-point star dates back to the Anglo-Saxon England, where they were made of brass, metal, and other materials that could be highly polished and visible in the moonlight. Religious or not, the 7 gifts represent service to humanity, which these officers are about to do when they swear to protect our communities. On both the badge and our patch, we have the magnificent colors of our nation, the state's flag, and our nation's flag, Old Glory. The color of white is for purity and innocence. Red is for hardiness and valor, and blue is the color of the chief, which signifies vigilance, perseverance, and justice. Our Wyoming flag, as it proudly waves in our Wyoming wind, has the same colors as Old Glory. However, blue represents our open skies, big mountains, and the traits of justice, morality, and fidelity. Red is a symbol of bloodshed by the pioneers, and white is the color of purity. It is important for the new officers and the community to remember our past as what it means when you take that oath, as much as moving forward and protecting our community in the future, along with our state and nation. The uniform you're about to wear is symbolic of everything our nation was founded on: bloodshed for our freedoms, and everything law enforcement officers should be in the performance of their duties. As you go forward from this day, once you have taken the oath, you will have great responsibility placed upon your shoulders as you start down this new trail in your life. Remembering these 4 qualities is a good virtue of a police officer: humanity, integrity, professionalism, and courage. Mayor Council, I present to you Zoe Coleman as our newest officer to swear. Her husband will do the honor of handing her badge.
I, Zoe Coleman, do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Wyoming and the ordinances of the town of Evansville, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of police officer with fidelity and to the best of my knowledge and ability. And that I have not paid or promised to pay or contribute directly or indirectly any money or other valuable thing to procure my appointment or election, except for necessary and proper expenses expressly authorized by law. That I have not knowingly violated any election law of the state or they come to be done by others in my behalf. I will not knowingly receive directly or indirectly any money or other valuable thing for the performance or non-performance of any act or duty pertaining to my office other than the compensation allowed by law, so help me God.
So I can get you to sign.
Thank you.
Well, he is doing the honor of putting on our badge. She's one of a few candidates of the year that we've had the pleasure to test. Council, several of our council members, Machado and Kleshvig, have helped with our hiring process. In Evansville, like each community, has its own unique process to selecting its officers. Ours is not necessarily the easiest process to go through the oral board. So I commend Zoe for getting through and being hired here, because we've had many, many candidates before us fail. I would say in the last 5 years of me being a chief, she's probably number 6 out of 90 applicants. So it says something to her stamina of an officer. I also want to give recognition to her former chief, Coulter Felter, with Glen Rock PD. He is a guest of honor to watch her get sworn tonight. Thank you for showing up. That's all I have. Thank you.
Congratulations. All right, next on the agenda is the interviews for the open councils. We had 3 applicants applying with letters of interest. We will ask each of the applicants to come forward, give a statement as to who you are and why you would like to be on the council. And then the council has a few questions that we will go through and ask each applicant. With that, we will start with Mr. Gerke.
My name is Phil Gerke. I live at 644 Eagle Trail in Evansville, and I've lived there for just over 5 years, almost 6. Excuse me, the allergies really bad. You'll have to excuse me wearing shorts tonight. I went to put on my Sunday going to meeting pants, and I must have grown this winter because they didn't fit. So normally I would have
We all
dressed
know
up just a little bit. But anyway, I had actually interviewed once before for the council position, and I had considered running in 2020. However, the company that I had worked for after I retired from my insurance agency was having a lot of issues because of COVID, and I just didn't feel like it was a good time because I wasn't going to be able to commit the time that I needed to be a good council member. So now that has settled down, and I'm back to working my normal 25 hours a week instead of 45 to 50. 74-year-olds aren't supposed to have to do that, but that's just kind of what it is. And being a council member is something I've always wanted to do. However, the jobs that I've held in management, that type of thing, never really allowed me the time to do that. I've been on the other end of the stick. I have reported to city councils when I worked for the city of Casper, so I understand some of the works, but and so it's just, I would just like to serve the community that I live in. We've grown to love it here in Evansville. Both my wife and I grew up in small towns, so this is just kind of home for us. So anyway, and there's a few things that over the years I've just kind of had on my mind that some things that I kind of like to do. And one of them is we're actually doing this in our neighborhood right now. We're kind of putting together a little bit of a neighborhood watch. Everybody's exchanging phone numbers and contact information. So if something is going on at somebody's house, or if they're out of town and it looks like something's going on or we just need to check on somebody. We've got some people in our neighborhood that are actually older than I am, believe it or not. And, you know, so we're doing that, and that's something we just started doing. Oh, we really started doing it about a year ago, but we're working harder on it now. Some of the other things I would really like to do, we've got a lot of great volunteers in this town. And I'd like to just kind of come up with some kind of a celebration or something that we could recognize those people. You know, it's everything from the community garden to the 100-year celebration that we did, but a lot of them are just small. We've got people like Tina that puts together the annual garage sale. We've got a guy in our neighborhood that goes all around the neighborhood plowing everybody's sidewalks and stuff every winter. There's just people that do a lot of really great things like that. And it'd be really nice if we could kind of come up with a way to recognize those people. The other thing that I would really like to be able to work on is in the spring, and this would probably have to start in the winter time, is to be able to put together volunteers to help people that are not able to clean up their yards, get them ready for summer. There's just people that just need to have that done. To be real honest about it, some of the younger ones that are perfectly capable of doing it themselves, I don't have a lot of sympathy for, but for those people, it would really be nice to be able to put together a list of reputable people that they could call to have come clean up their yards for them. I did that for my neighbor next door to me. And part of the problem was that they would call somebody and they were supposed to show up and they didn't show up and, or didn't return phone calls or whatever. Well, I knew a couple people that would, if they said they'd be there, they did, and they cleaned up their yard, and it looks presentable now. So, you know, I'd like to be able to do some things like that. One of the other things, and I'm not sure how we would do this, but we've got a lot of dead and dying trees.
Yeah.
And it would really, really be nice to be able to help figure out some way to help people get rid of those. I know in the past, my past life, I've had to have trees removed, and it's expensive. But by the same token, not only are they an eyesore, but they're dangerous. And even the town of Evansville's got a lot of the fern type trees and whatnot didn't make it through the winter, and they're dead. They're sitting there. We've got Russian olives that are down by the water plant that probably should be removed. Just to be able to get some things like that done. And I know in the past I did things like I worked with a tree guy when I had my trees done, and I let him come do it whenever he had a break. And so then I got a break on the cost of that. But I don't know, I'm not sure exactly how we would do that working within the town of Evansville, but it'd be really nice to be able to do some of that. Long term is what I'd really like to do is to see the town of Evansville work on our retail trade. You know, if some of it could be things like Dollar General went into Bar None, Mills, Casper. Why can't we have one here in Evansville? I notice people all the time now, especially with the convenience store here closing or having to walk, you know, a long ways, and I'm not sure some of that's the safest place to be walking, especially in the evenings and at night. But it would be nice if we could get some of those in, and if we could do some things like possibly dress up the area coming into town. I mean, that corner and stuff down there isn't the best in the world, but maybe we could come up with some ways and some money to be able to do that. And I know that's probably a long-term goal that would have to be put into the budget. And, you know, so I'd just like to see us do a few things like that. And then the only other thing, and I'm not sure how this would work, I really don't know how, if the railroad's responsible for the railroad crossings, but if we don't get something done with them, we're gonna have to be sure and get a tire repair and an alignment business into town, because we're all gonna be needing it. Because even a 5 miles an hour, you can't hardly go back over that thing without wrecking your car. And, on a closing note, I'd have you know, I finally figured out what that sign down here says, means when it says no left turn lane. It only took like 3 years, but I finally figured it out. So anyway, in conclusion, I really appreciate your consideration, and I know that I'd be a good council member. I like working with people. I like people. I always have worked with people. I would be very open to talking with people and doing whatever we can. And I just think we need to represent the town from top to bottom. Doesn't matter what their economic stance is or whether they live or how they live or whatever, but I think everybody in town deserves representation. So that's all I have.
Great, thank you.
Questions?
Don't mind, we do have any prepared questions that we'll ask.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and kick off. Mr. Gerke, what qualities do you have that contribute to the council?
Okay.
Covered some of that.
I covered some of it, I hope. But there's a few things. One of them is that I officiated for over 20 years. And so I think I know, I just have it built into me between right and wrong. I have a really thick skin. So, you know, if somebody's upset, I don't get upset back at them. And I just really, I think, have a real sense of fairness, okay? In my time that I worked with the city of Casper, I spent a lot of time working with the council. In fact, during that time, I was probably the only individual in city history that the council gave a $10,000 budget to spend however I wanted to. And it came back to them tenfold. But, you know, so, and I've owned businesses or managed businesses my whole life. I've traveled extensively through the whole Western United States. I grew up in a small town like Evansville, so I just feel like I would really be good. And I do have the time.
I'm gonna go ahead and ask one more question before I pass it along.
I find taking up a lot of time.
No worries. So you had mentioned you coming in and you've worked with us before. That's why you didn't run before. Would you intend to run for re-election if you were chosen?
Yes, absolutely.
What is your stance on collectively working as a team?
Oh, I work with a team. Oh, that's all I've ever done. I've worked with teams of 500 people. I've worked with teams of just a few people when I had my insurance agency, and the company I've been working with since I retired, since I sold my insurance agency. I work with people every day, and from all over the country, all different kinds of nationalities, whatever. I mean, I just work with a lot of people, and you just gotta get along.
And I have a follow-up
Uh-huh.
question to that. As the team is on council, but if there were issues with a resident in the town, how would you collectively work with that resident, because they are a part of the team as well?
Well, first of all, I think you gotta listen to them and really listen. You know, not just give them lip service, but to listen and really try and find out, you know, what their problem is or what they would like to have done. And then I think you've got to do a very good job of explaining why you can or cannot do it. And try and find some middle ground if you can. I think it's also important that nothing can be done for each and every person. It is just not possible. And there sometimes will be a very vocal group of 3 or 4 people that want something done that may not be in the interest of the community. And we just have to deal with that, but everything's got to be done civilly. Just as an example, I've seen some posts on the Facebook page here last week over the fireworks and stuff, And I just kind of made a comment, you know, you can have your opinion, but voice it nicely. Be nice about it. You know, they're your neighbors. You know, treat them like you'd want to be treated and use the language that you would like to hear. So, okay.
What does being on a council mean to you? Can you please describe this in detail? I know it's
I know
redundant, I'm sorry.
it's okay, Dave, I understand. I think you need to be a representative of the community as a whole. You know, you're not there to represent yourself. You're not there to represent a special interest. You have to represent the community and try it. And there's always gonna be things that everybody can't agree on. And there's things that can't be done, but I think we always gotta look as a community for ways to be better. Okay?
Well, it sounds you're very community-minded.
Yes.
So yes, we've covered that. What are your individual goals for council? And do you have a direction you would like to see the town move in going forward?
Yeah, good question. Some of that I've kind of covered.
Yes.
But some of it is that I think I really want us to keep our small town the way that it is. I mean, not the way that it is, we need to grow a little bit, but we don't want to become Casper, okay? We want to be Evansville. And I think it would be really cool if someday one of these publications came out and said that the greatest little town in Wyoming is Evansville. And I think that's fully possible. I think we've got everything here. And I think we've got a lot of really good people. I have not, and in the time that I've been here, I really can't think of anybody that I can say I dislike. I mean, neighbors seem to take care of each other. We talk to each other all the time. And that's kind of where I'd like to see us at.
A follow-up question, is there any projects you'd be like to move into as far as infrastructure, or what would you like to see would improve the community the best?
Well, a couple things to start, okay, is I really would like to see us dress up the entrance into town.
Okay.
So that it looks like you're really coming into a town. And I don't know what all's involved in that. And I do really think that in the long term, we need to develop a little bit of retail business. I mean, we don't need a Walmart store or a Target or anything like that, but if we could just get some small town like businesses. You know, we've got, you know, several of them that have opened up here, and I know just at the last council meeting, I think there was 4 or 5 licenses given out. You know, but you keep working on those.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have a follow-up question for you as well. At times, being on council, sometimes we feel that it's best to help lead from the bottom or help our community. And sometimes we do things like, for instance, Candace did the 100-year celebration.
Uh-huh.
Many of us had helped with the cleanup day. Is that something that you would possibly help out with?
Oh, absolutely. And that's part of what I was talking about before with the way that my job was. I didn't feel like I could do those things. But I think as a council member, you need to act like a leader. And when there's community things going on, I think you need to be there to participate in them. And I'm not going to guarantee you that I'll be at every one of them, but as many as possible. And I think, and like I say, there's a lot of volunteers that are involved in those things, and I think they need to be thanked for volunteering. I think there needs to be, and I also think there needs to be some way to recognize those people.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any further questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, I have Dale Sheldon. Just
Real quick.
this one.
This is kind of our problem child, and it's been fine, but then it started acting up again, so.
I'm Dale Sheldon. I live at 759 3rd Street. I've lived here in Evansville about 13 years or so. And I just want to be on the town council, because I think I can serve the community. I think that the government that governs the least governs the best. So the purpose of the town council, is pretty much just to provide essential services, maintenance of the streets, garbage collection, police protection, fire department, that sort of stuff. So I don't really have an agenda. Just like to see the government, the town council function the way that it's supposed to.
Mr. Sheldon, what qualities do you have to contribute to the council?
I think honesty, common sense. I don't want to tell everybody what to do and how to live their life. I think the people here, they just want to get right, like I said, with those essential services. You want the government to do what it's supposed to do.
Would you intend to run for re-election?
Sure.
What is your stance on collectively working as a team?
I think it's important to have cohesion, to try and work together, no substitute for teamwork. I learned in the Army a long time ago.
And I have one follow-up question. How would you handle a situation, because residents are part of our team? So if there was a situation or an issue with the resident, how would you handle that being on council?
I think we need to talk to them. I think there's a lot of people, they don't even know who's on the town council. They don't have contact. So I believe, yeah, if you have a problem, you need to try and talk to the people who work it out with them.
And I have one additional follow-up question. You had made reference to earlier on in your statement that the council should run the way that it needs to. Can you elaborate on that statement?
Well, the council just needs to make sure that the town, that we provide the essential services. Not really a whole lot more. Pretty conservative. I don't think so.
Are there specific instances of more that's being done?
I'm not sure what you
Well, you said that provide the essential services and not anymore.
Well-
There are instances in the past where you feel like things have gone more than what you assume would be the responsibility.
Well, not so much with the town council. I think there's a lot of problems. People see that, hear people talk about how the government is always overstepping its bounds. Of course, a lot of people, they talk about the federal government. Sometimes people complain about all the others.
What does being on a council mean to you? Can you please describe in detail?
Well, again, serving the community, representing the community. Like I said, making sure that people have what they need. The trash is picked up, the streets are plowed, the streets are maintained. I think that's a big thing, big issue when they're in these zones. Fire department functions, police department functions. I think maintenance is a big thing. I think that's what people expect.
Okay, what would your individual goals be for council?
Well, again, just to make sure that things run like they're supposed to.
Okay. With Public Works doing the good work they do, emergency management, police, administration, is there a direction that you'd like to see the town move in?
I don't know if there's a particular direction I'd like to see it move in. But I just would like to see the town function the way it should and just be a good place to live.
Now, we currently have a few projects going on, an overlay on Lathrop and some sidewalk efforts. Is that something you can get behind? And
Oh, yeah,
yeah, okay.
yeah, that's the purpose of town government. Yeah, that's what people want, what people expect. You know, if the roads and sidewalks aren't taken care of, then that's what you hear from people.
Thank you.
Many times our council will help out with different things. Candace was on our 100-year celebration, and many of our council members, past and present, have helped out with the town cleanup. Is that something that you could see yourself helping us out with?
Sure, because I think we need to work with the people, and the people need to know who's on the town council. They need to see the town council, feel that the town council is part of the community, part of them.
Any further questions?
I have a follow-up question. You had made reference twice about residents don't know who's on the town council. What would be your suggestion if you were on the town council? How would you get people to know that you're on the council, or what would be your strategy or solution to getting residents to know who you are?
I think you need to be, first of all, you need to be able to talk to people, tell people, hey, I'm on the town council. You know, if you have any problem, any concerns, come to me. I'm talking, hear the concerns. So tell people, well, that's not really our job. Explain it to them, but if they have legitimate concerns, yes, I represent them.
Any further questions? Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and then we have Ms. Vino.
Hello, everybody. I am Alana Vino, and I would like to be considered for the vacant seat. I have been a very active community member in Evansville for the past 8 years. I run a small and successful dog grooming business here in Evansville. For the past year, I and Candace and Janelle and definitely some other volunteers up here at Evansville planned and coordinated and put on one hell of a good 100-year celebration. We also, I head the community garden. I've been doing that for the past 2 years. I probably put in 75 to probably over 100 hours in the past couple of years just working on that alone. I try to be here at not every single council meeting, but most council meetings, and then try to get on to Facebook and post about it so Evansville community knows more about what's going on. Because sometimes people aren't making it to it or not making it to council meetings, and trying to post on if there is something new going on or if there's going to be a new vote or new ordinance, trying to post on that, keeping Evansville knowing what's going on in this building. Pretty much, I've been active in this community. I very much want to be my actions just speak just as loud as my words, and I've been here doing it. Why not take the next step and stepping up there and taking a bigger role?
Could you elaborate on what qualities you have that would contribute to the council?
Well, working on different boards and work well with other people. I run and operate my own business. I understand what it takes to run a business successfully, being able to work alongside people, but also being able to delegate and get things done.
If you were the successful candidate, would you run for re-election?
Absolutely. I didn't get all dressed up for nothing.
Councilwoman Joe.
What is your stance on collectively working as a team?
Well, by even the people up here, I've worked on boards, being able to work alongside with lots of different types of people and being able to work collectively and getting everybody's opinion on something, but yet trying to figure out that medium ground and get it done.
I have a follow-up for you. In terms of a team, residents are part of the team in this town. And so how would you address an issue if a resident brought an issue to you or brought an issue to the council? How would you address that?
Well, I can kind of give an example on that. Actually, the very first time I met Mike was when two of my neighbors were having a neighbor battle in between them. They could not figure out how to be nice to each other and not to just continuously battle. And it was just blowing over and out of proportion of something that was misunderstood and I brought both of these people into my home and was like, look, let's sit down. I will play mediator, have a cup of tea, and let's figure this out. And that was the very first time I met Mike when he had private messaged me like, look, can I come too and sit in on this and let's get this figured out? That was the first time I met Mike, and that was the first time of going, I like this guy. He actually cares about this community. He wants to be involved even in these little things of playing mediator for the town.
What does being on a council mean to you? Can you describe this in detail?
It means taking on a bigger role. I mean, right now I have taken on a pretty big role of a lot of different volunteer work in this town and getting my hands dirty and really just being there and putting in sweat and tears of everything else of what I've done, but this is just taking on a bigger role and a bigger step.
Okay, have you proven history with the community garden, but what would your individual goals be?
Well, I definitely still want to expand the community garden. I think it's one of those, it's huge in this community. We're having people already down there picking some of the veggies that have come up, some of the herbs and things like that. People are already down there doing it. It's definitely one of those, I think, especially with our town, we do have quite a bit of people that are on that poverty line, and I think even branching more and more gardens every year, putting in smaller beds, definitely not to the extent of bed that we did, but those smaller original beds, building onto that. And I've actually been in talks with Robert of how we can do that, of just trying to just build a little bit more every year and just planting more and more veggies, just to keep it community fed that are sometimes having a little bit harder time putting food on their table.
Okay, with the garden, would you have a different direction you'd like to see the town go into?
A different direction?
A different direction?
Not
Another
necessarily. I really, what's that?
Another project or?
Not necessarily in a different direction. It's one of those, I do believe that you guys have done a really good job in trying to keep steering us in the right direction. I'm also one of those that talking to the heads of our department is big. If they have a big idea, if they've got a big project, talking to them is a big deal. They're the ones that know, they know about their spots. Robert knows about public works. Mike and Leo, I mean, they know about what they need to have done. I don't necessarily know of an exact project that I want to bring to the table. It's one of those, kind of the garden has been my baby and I've been really headstrong into that. But I'm definitely not opposed to new projects if something was to be brought up.
Thank you.
Are you willing to help out with different community events? I know the answer to this, but I'm just gonna ask anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
I will be there with my leather gloves on and my big sun hat so I don't get sunburned, but I will be there alongside of you guys, just like I have been in the past, getting dirty and getting it done. Because really it's one of those, there's a lot of lip action and talk, but I'm not seeing people out there getting things done. I want more people out there alongside me working and getting things done. I want more community involvement. And with being up there, it's a huge thing, and that's one of those things. Like, you're gonna sit up there, you better be ready to get your hands dirty.
Any further questions? Thank you very much for your
Thanks,
time.
guys.
Appreciate you. All right, do I have a motion to go into executive session?
I move.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We will back.
You're all showing me your phone. You're like,
Oh, sorry.
oh, no. I'm interested in that too.
They're just one party. Now they'll go back there and they will
Yeah.
discuss
I turn the radio on, you can listen to it.
Oh, I'm totally down with that.